Ancient stone fingers reach for the sky, stretching out over several miles. People who were basically one step removed from cavemen were quarrying these giant stones, some weighing 100, 200, or even up to 350 tons. A complex of stone structures dating back more than 10,000 years stands before us, asking, how was this done? What's the background to this? Were they meant to be seen by people in the sky? And who could have been flying at that time other than extraterrestrials? The remains of an Incan temple are reported to have otherworldly origins. They wanted that in the far future, the question would come up, have you been visited by outer space? Millions of people around the world believe we've been visited in the past by extraterrestrial beings. What if it were true? Did ancient aliens really help to shape our history? And if so, is there an extraterrestrial explanation for Earth's most mysterious unexplained structures? Göbekli Tepe. Located more than 500 miles away from the crowded streets of Istanbul is Şanlıurfa in southeastern Turkey. There, in 1994, on a dusty hilltop, a local shepherd noticed the tip of a stone sticking out of his field. He began to dig, eventually unearthing a 19-foot pillar. Its edges were precise, and rising from its center was a relief carving of a strange animal. Upon closer examination, it appeared that the finely chiseled stone had been fashioned by talented stonemasons working with advanced tools. When word of the discovery reached the scientific community, one fact became obvious. A curious shepherd had stumbled upon what is perhaps the most astonishing archaeological discovery in modern times, a site known as Göbekli Tepe. For 13 years, a German archaeology team meticulously excavated the hill. They conducted carbon dating as deep as they could go, and after all that time, they had uncovered only 5% of a gigantic civilization. They knew what lay beneath the ground, circles upon circles upon circles, perfect circles in stone. Rising up out of those stone circles are huge sculpted columns, 19 feet high and weighing 15 tons each. Test results have supported the idea that Göbekli Tepe is nearly 12,000 years old, almost 7,000 years older than Mesopotamia's Fertile Crescent, long heralded as the cradle of civilization. Göbekli Tepe is the oldest advanced site now on our planet. We know of no other site that is this advanced. It effectively doubles the known history of humanity. Right there is this gigantic site with huge megalithic circular structures. It stands as a mystery, asking us to figure out how this was done and what's the background to this. We don't know who made them. They just come out of the darkness of the last ice age, where we know nothing, and enter the stage of history already fully formed. To my mind, this is indicative of a major forgotten episode in human history. Could the discovery of Göbekli Tepe radically change our understanding of human history? Might proof of an ancient civilization provide evidence that mankind's most puzzling myths might actually be based in fact? A lot of myths and legends suggest that there were past civilizations of astounding sophistication at incredibly early periods. I think we have little glimmers, little suggestions around the world, that there was something going on much higher, much more sophisticated, and at a much earlier period of time. To put things into perspective, Göbekli Tepe is 12,000 years old. That is several thousand years older than Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid. Indeed, according to biblical tradition, the world really began in 4000 BC, and yet that is 8,000 years later than the foundation of Göbekli Tepe. Clearly, we have here something that contradicts our normal understanding of the evolution of civilization. Curiously, after 13 years of digging, archaeologists investigating the ancient site have failed to recover a single stone-cutting tool, nor have they found any agricultural implements. How in the world can you contemplate 19-foot-tall, perfectly sculpted columns that are 11,000 to 12,000 years old, and no tools? The mystery of Göbekli Tepe is further compounded by the ancient stone carvings found throughout the site. They depict creatures like wild boars and geese. We see various types of creatures, different animals, birds, insects, and even abstract human forms that seem to come together to create this very weird menagerie, which has totally baffled the archaeologists who have uncovered this site. What they represent is a matter of speculation, but it's my intuition that they may even represent an ark in stone. Located less than 350 miles from Mount Ararat, the site many biblical scholars believe to be the resting place of Noah's Ark, the animal carvings of Göbekli Tepe suggest a time in the region's history when the indigenous animal population may have been of a totally different origin. But do these carvings actually provide historical proof of the Great Flood described in the Bible? Archaeologists are aware that there are more than 2,000 myths of a Great Flood, which destroyed an earlier civilization. Some researchers theorize that the events of a cataclysmic flood, and a story similar to that told of Noah's Ark, were recorded on the stone pillars of Göbekli Tepe. If true, that would push the date of the Great Flood back to the end of the last ice age, far earlier than the biblical period. There is evidence that this might have ended quite catastrophically. There were a lot of things happening, a lot of migrations, possibly waters rising up very quickly, and rapid changes in lifestyles. But another, perhaps even more profound question remains. Who built Göbekli Tepe? For what purpose? And how did such an ancient site remain in nearly pristine condition for more than 10,000 years? In the case of Göbekli Tepe, we find that the site was carefully placed under sand. It was deliberately buried. It appears as if somehow the usage of Göbekli Tepe was no longer needed, and people moved on. But they had such reverence for this important site that rather than destroy it, they put it to rest by burying it. But why would the area's inhabitants carefully bury their monuments under 20 feet of sand? Is it possible that Göbekli Tepe was deliberately buried in order to protect it from invaders?